Welcome, everyone. This is the Singing Sea Stars from Tropic Isles Elementary. My name is Susan Hamilton. I'm the music teacher. They will be singing a few different songs, some about friendship, some about getting together and feeling good about themselves. I hope you enjoy.
Such a day, Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The school board meeting of March 8, 2016 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. At this time, we request that all electronic devices be turned off or put into the silent mode. We'd also ask you to refrain from using flash photography except during special presentations like the one you see before us and our presentation of awards. We'd like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Prior to the start of this evening's board meeting, we have been enjoying the sounds of the Singing Sea Stars, the premier chorus group at Tropic Isles Elementary School under the direction of Susan Hamilton. The choir consists of students from grades 3 to 5 who have successfully auditioned to be a part of this chorus. It provides its singers with an opportunity to come together to rehearse and perform a wide range of choral literature for the children's choir, as well as learning proper singing and choral techniques. Students are also given the opportunity to perform in both school and community events, such as this one this evening. At this time, the Singing Sea Stars will perform one more number for us. Ms. Johnson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we'll take a few minutes to allow our chorus to exit the building. Thank you. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, one recognition and one acknowledgement, public comment, and the consent action items, which includes 5 items under Executive Services, 8 items under Business and Finance, 8 items under Operations, and 2 items under Teaching and Learning. We have 4 superintendent recommendations, one which is good cause. Dr. Atkins, would you please provide the reason for your good cause item?
Sure. I recommend board approval of the 2015-2016 collective bargaining agreement with the Teachers Association of Lee County.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. As chairman, as presiding officer, I find that there is good cause to add this to the item to the agenda today. There's 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to approve the agenda as modified?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. La Riviere, second by Ms. Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. At this point, Ms. La Riviere will deliver the invocation, after which Ms. Morgan will deliver the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please rise?
Father God, I just thank you so much for the gifts that you have given to all of our students, for their uniqueness, their talents, as we saw just a portion of that tonight. I thank you so much, too, that goes along for our staff members, as each of them use their expertise and skill to meet the needs of our students, to meet the needs of other staff members, to be able to do their jobs well so that we can provide the best educational format we can for our students as we purge onward and forward. Father, I thank you for the administrators that are put in place. Father, I pray that you would grant wisdom and guidance as they lead their schools. Father, that you would create an atmosphere in those schools of a family that is unified and working together and striving to meet the needs of their students in very unique and various ways, Lord. Father, I pray that you would oversee this meeting tonight, that you would give wisdom and guidance. And Father, may each of our business dealings that we adjust and work with, Lord, be responsible and both ethically and fiscally. And Lord, I just pray that you would grant us all the wisdom that we need. Amen.
Amen.
The cadet presenting the national colors tonight will be introduced by Sergeant Mary Gary Payne from the East Lee County High School's JROTC program. Sergeant Major Payne retired from the Army after 30 years of active duty service, having served primarily with the 7th Special Forces Group. Sergeant Major Payne has been a Lee County JROTC instructor since August 2011.
Thank you. The national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be presented by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Christian Villasuso from East Lee County High School Junior ROTC program. Cadet Villasuso is a senior and the 2nd Battalion Commander of the Jaguar Brigade. He is a 4-year member of the Raider Team and the commander of the Banner Team. Additionally, Cadet Villasuso was an integral member of the Drill Team, the Color Guard, and the Saber Team. He has excelled during each JRTC Cadet Leadership Challenge over the past 2 years. As high school graduation, Cadet Villasuso plans to enlist in the United States Army and continue pursuing his college degree via the U.S. Army's education program. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Down. That's right.
Good evening. Once again this year, the Lee County School District was well represented at the Florida Music Educators Association All-State Music Conference, which was held on January 13th through 16th in Tampa. Tonight, we are recognizing 28 elementary and middle school students who attended the conference and earned all-state recognition and awards in various areas. As I call out the students' names, please come forward to receive your certificates and have a group picture taken. We will take pictures of each group individually. Let's begin with All-State Elementary Chorus. Samantha Drivick, Cape Elementary School. Savannah Kohler, Cape Elementary. Claire Fishinger, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Ashley Knight, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Jace Golly, San Carlos Park Elementary School. Come on over here. Let's line up here. And let's see. Gina, you want to help me give out the certificates? Look at how pretty these look. Okay, they're in order. Okay. Isabella Ginhart, San Carlos Park. Morgan Pabon, San Carlos Park Elementary, and Cameron Concepcion, Skyline Elementary School. Please come forward, get your certificates, and we'll take a nice picture. Absolutely. Yes, okay.
I'll just take a quick.
Okay, please do.
Thank you. Savannah Kohler could not be with us tonight as she has been selected for a very prestigious honor. She is in Tennessee for the American Choral Directors Associate Southern Region Honor Choir event.
Great job, guys. Thank you. Next, we have the All-State Elementary Orff Ensemble. Ashley Buckley, Edison Park Creative and Expressive Arts School, and Tiffany Howe from Patriot Elementary. Congratulations. Do you want to go get your picture now? Great. And now we'll move on to FBA All-State Middle School Honor Band. Christian Snedeker, Bonita Springs Middle Center for the Arts. Jacob Woodward, Diplomat Middle School. Lena Flores, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Gabrielle Stallwood, Oak Hammock Middle School. Rachel Fisher, Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School. Hannah Human, the Alva School, and Abigail Lee, Varsity Lakes Middle School. and their teachers, too. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, everybody smile pretty. Great job. Next, we have the All-State Middle School Honors Orchestra. Maya Senna-Charles, Cypress Lake Middle School, and Claire Schreiber, Diplomat Middle. Come on up. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now we'll meet the All-State Middle School Mixed Chorus. Brianna Johnson, Calusa Middle School. Gabrielle Carthy-Pierre, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Reagan Denny, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Abigail Fletcher, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Lolina Brueggemann Munoz, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. And Mateo Ochino, Three Oaks Middle School. Come on. Okay, great job, guys. Good job, thank you. And last but not least, All-State Middle School Treble Chorus. Victoria Hagan, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. Allery Kovacs, North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. And Christian Miller, Trafalgar Middle School. Congratulations.
Our student representative could not be here with us this evening. We'll have to reschedule, so I will do the character word for March, and that is courage, the personal strength to face difficulties, obstacles, and challenges, to be brave and make positive choices. Courage is not resistance to fear, mastery of fear, it's not the absence of fear, from Mark Twain. And the display you see displayed up there on the screen was by Madeline Falis, a 10th grader at Estero High School.
I love that.
At this point, we are now moved to public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please read the disclaimer for public comment?
School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the card submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Mr. Toiber, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. The school board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers and may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. Speakers are expected to act in a respectful manner. Those who fail to do so after being warned by the meeting chair may be required to leave the meeting. Disruptive attacks on individuals are prohibited. Mr. Torb, this evening I have 11 cards.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Before I start and ask if there's anybody in the audience that did not get a chance to fill out a blue card but would like to speak, I'd like to just give about a 2-minute recess to allow all the people that were here for the presentations to be able to leave, and then I'll check for people for their cards. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I'm now going to say, is there anybody on the right side that did not get an opportunity to turn in a blue card but would like to speak? Please raise your hand. Okay, there's 3 of you. Can you give me your names? Oh, 4 of you. In the far back, can you give me your name in the back? McQueen. And you? Ma'am? Pam? Yes. Okay, is there anybody on this side that did not get a chance to fill out a blue card would like to speak? Mary. Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin, your first card. Wait, hold on a minute.
We have 9 people by hand, I believe, so that
Yeah,
makes
9, that's
20
20.
even, so the time allowed is 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Please call your first card.
Please state your name as you approach the lectern before you begin your comments. Our first speaker this evening is Donna Mutznard.
Good evening, Mr. Toiber, Board, and Dr. Atkins. My name is Donna Mutzenard, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Teachers Association of Lee County this evening. I'm speaking to you tonight in support of the good cause item regarding the agreement between the Teachers Association of Lee County and the school district. First, I would like to thank all the members of both teams who gave a lot of their time to come up with this agreement. It has been many years since we had an agreement this late in a school year. But at any rate, we feel we have come to the best negotiated agreement we could at this time. 80% of our teachers agree with that. Now we need your approval so the teachers can receive their additional pay and we can move on to begin negotiating for next year within the next month. I also have to give a special thank you to Dr. Atkins. We have worked closely together on contracts for many years, and I will certainly miss his insight and understanding of teachers' lives and work, especially now. I will also miss his intellect and sense of humor, although we don't always agree on the way something should be done. Because we have been able to work things out, no matter what we were going through, Lee County has stayed on an even keel when it comes to employee relations. I can't say the same for our surrounding districts or the rest of the state. Although I will miss working with him at the bargaining table, I am thrilled he is now our superintendent, and we can continue working together at a new level. So thank you, Dr. Atkins, for your help over the years to keep interest-based bargaining alive and well. We now move to the next chapter in employee relations, and I look forward to working with Dr. Pruitt as Chief Negotiator and Executive Director for Human Resources. She, too, is a strong advocate for interest-based bargaining and teachers. Again, I ask for your approval on our contract tonight. Thank you.
Mark Castellano.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Atkins, and Mr. Martin. My name is Mark Castellano, President of the Teachers Association of Lee County. I am speaking tonight on the tentative agreement that was ratified last week by 80% of the teachers. While we are pleased that the agreement was strongly supported by our teachers, we will not, nor can we ignore or dismiss the 804 voices that voted against it. These teachers made a point that while this contract makes progress in certain respects, a long overdue increase in board contribution towards our insurance, increased due process guarantees for our growing forever annual contract teacher population, a small increase in additional paid planning time, and secondary scheduling committee, and a PLC guideline committee. That said, it is woefully short in one area, effectively addressing the salaries of our teachers. While our negotiations exhausted every cent that was made available, it is simply insufficient in addressing salaries for far too many of our teachers. The most important issue I wish to bring to you as a board is this. It is up to this school board to make available, however you need to do so, funds that will allow the district's bargaining team to work with us to increase salaries in a way that makes up for the freezes and bonuses we accepted during the hardest years of the recession. We had an unwritten agreement which dates back to Dr. Browder to address these concerns as soon as possible. While we are painfully aware of the failure of our legislature and governor to realistically address public school funding issues while continuing to promote their failed agenda of privatizing public education, we do not accept this as an excuse for not, at this point in time, addressing the need to pay teachers, all teachers, a salary that at the very least keeps up with the cost of living and, more importantly, rewards them for the increasingly demanding and difficult job they are being asked to do. As we look towards reopening negotiations for 2016-2017, it is the responsibility of this school board to provide an adequate bargaining authority to Dr. Adkins as superintendent and Dr. Prelude as the district's chief negotiator. These are individuals we have learned to respect and trust. They need you to allow them to actually show our teachers the respect they deserve and the ability to earn a salary worthy of the importance of our job. I close with a request that Mrs. Fisher share the budget update she gave at this afternoon's briefing. Thank you.
Marvin Getz.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Atkins. I'm Marvin Getz, and I represent the substitute teachers, guest teachers of the school district. I have to keep remembering it's been a long time switching over. Tonight, I would like to make you aware about substitutes' length of service. Basically, right now, we have 1,407 substitute teachers available, okay? And we don't seem to have any trouble attracting, but we do seem to have trouble retaining. And so for tonight, I thought I would tell you where we stand. Of the 1,407 teachers, we only have 136 substitutes who have served 10 years or more. The oldest two subs in the district have been with us since 1988. Now, the interesting thing is, why do people leave? Well, they leave because they're not recognized. Not one of those older two teachers, substitutes, have ever been recognized by the board. Not a pat on the back, not a paper, nothing. And there's something to say when they get the feeling they're not recognized and they're not respected. And so many of them leave after just a few years. Yet we recognize so many other groups within our school district on longevity. And I think we need to do the same, much like the health park does, that recognizes after 5 years of service, recognizes with a pin for longevity and things like that. We don't do any of that. So how do you know you're needed? How do you know you're wanted? Unless you let us know. So I ask you, why are we leaving? Why are there so many leaving? And it bothers me because we attract enough. Every month, the superintendent brings you a list, and it's 80, 90 people we attract. But at the same time, they stay a short time, a year, 2 years, and they leave. I like to see us have a steady, consistent group of people. As you know, I've been at this is my 60th year, and that's a long time to be involved in education. And fortunately, I don't get discouraged easy. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Getz. Mr. Martin.
Kevin Daly.
Good evening, Dr. Atkins and board members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. As a teacher and member of the bargaining team, I urge you to vote to ratify the tentative agreement tonight. This deal is a good start towards solving some of the issues that have arisen since the economic downturn. There are 3 main areas that need to be addressed on an ongoing basis to, I believe, help alleviate the teacher shortage that this district is experiencing. First, salaries. Though we are now the ninth largest district in the state, we rank 36th in the state in both average and median teacher salary as of school year 14-15, according to the Florida Department of Education. We must bring salaries up of all the teachers in our district to be in line with our size rank in order to recruit and retain the most effective teachers. Second, benefits. The agreement has an additional $500 per employee per year, increased to $6,825 towards purchasing benefits. However, we still lag behind other districts in total package. Hendry County gives employees $9,000 per employee per year for benefits. Finding a way to increase the board share more will again allow us to be competitive in recruiting and retaining the most effective teachers. Lastly, teaching conditions. This agreement compensates teachers for an additional 30 minutes per week exclusively for planning. This is a good start towards recognizing the efforts of all the district teachers and compensating them for the time they give off the clock to assist their students. However, unfunded state mandates and overuse of testing are putting more and more on each teacher's plate. We need to work to examine which initiatives are truly benefiting the students in Lee County and take away some of the ones that are not effective in increasing teaching and learning. By decreasing ineffective initiatives, we will be increasing the time teachers plan and teach and increasing the time students will be learning. With bargaining for school year 16-17 starting very soon, I ask that the board try and find the money necessary to make a meaningful impact in each of these areas. You cannot put students first by putting teachers last.
Don Armstrong.
Mr. Atkins, Lee County School Board. For the record, my name's Don Armstrong. What am I standing up here for tonight? To support our teachers. But let me tell you a few names. Betty Larkin, Mrs. Haynes, Mrs. Fields, Jeannie Dozier. Some of these names that I'm mentioning are my past teachers. But there's a few more names that are just as important. Bonnie McGolan, Kathleen Jasper, Joan Dowan, Mrs. Fox, Virginia Harper. Why am I mentioning all these names? These are all teachers who's either bent my ear, pulled my shirt collar, or done something to get my attention, whether I did something wrong up there or right. But you know, when I look at the new contract and how it's affecting some of our veteran teachers, they're not here for the money. These teachers are out there on the weekends, late after school, working. What they want is appreciation. Mrs. Dozier, I know you as a teacher for a long time. These teachers deserve our respect, and this contract is not giving it. So here's what I'm asking tonight from the school board. I'm not asking to table the contract. I'm asking to postpone it for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. To go out here and each one of you go to a classroom, spend 8 hours with one of these teachers. But I'll do you one better than that tonight. If each one of you spend 8 hours with a teacher, I don't get paid vacations, but I do get a vacation. Spring break, I'll spend my whole 1 week's vacation and donate it to any school you pick if you just follow these teachers and see the hardship and how hard they work for us. That's all I'm asking tonight. Just 8 hours of your time. Please don't vote on this tonight. Give it some more thought. These teachers work hard. They deserve the respect. And I know the bargaining team worked hard, but there's still a lot of work we can do. And I think we owe it to our teachers and our support staff to take a long look at this and make sure we do it correctly. Thank you, and hopefully you'll do the right decision.
Amy French.
Good evening, Dr. Atkins and the school board. My name is Amy French, and I'm a very proud member of the TELC bargaining team. This contract is a start. It's a start to recruit new teachers. I'm a professional development and leadership specialist, and I have the great privilege to work with teacher leaders at 8 TIF schools and 1 Title I school. Some of these schools are still not fully staffed, and I see the burden that is put on the teachers when classrooms are staffed by substitute teachers. Classroom teachers step up to support the substitutes with classroom management, lesson plans, and grades. By raising the beginning teacher salary to $40,000, which is only an increase of $1,500 from when I started 9 years ago, I think it will make us more competitive with other districts. This contract is a start to address the pay gap for the mid-range teachers who are most negatively impacted when we froze steps during the recession and then ultimately eliminated steps as a result of SB 736. This gives this group of teachers a $500 pay bump. The teachers in this range will never catch up to the veteran teachers where they were prior to the elimination of the steps due to SB 736. This contract is a start to comply with SB 736, which no longer allows us to reward teachers with percentage raises, which greatly benefited our more experienced teachers in the past. The law now dictates that highly effective teachers on annual contracts must receive a higher raise than all other teachers. By paying teachers their hourly rate for the extra half hour, we are able to pay more experienced teachers at a higher rate, which is on average 40% more than a beginning teacher. Also, I'd like to encourage our most experienced teachers to try working at a hard-to-staff school, where they can earn this year an extra $4,000, or one of our 11 DA schools where they can earn $1,600. Students at these schools could greatly benefit from their many years of teaching experience. As someone, I come from an elementary school setting, it is entirely possible that a student at an elementary school that's DA or hard to staff could have a beginning teacher every year that they're in elementary school. This contract is a start to address the enormous amount of stress our teachers are under, compounded with the lack of planning time due to block scheduling, meetings, and PLCs. We spent many hours in bargaining talking about working conditions. We were able to negotiate a paid half hour solely for planning. We need more time, especially the secondary teachers who do not have everyday planning, but this is a start. This contract is a start to address inaccuracies on our paycheck stubs, especially with sick time and supplemental pay. And teachers for years have asked me to see what we can do about getting summer pay. This contract is a start to address those issues with the move to pay in arrears. The contract is a start. It was bargained in good faith using an interest-based model to facilitate our meetings. It was transparent and open. It was approved by
Your time is up, ma'am. Joe Castellano.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Atkins, and Mr. Martin. My name is Jill Castellano, and I'm the vice president of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Sorry, Mark. A proud member of our bargaining team and a high school social studies teacher at East Lee County High School. I'm speaking tonight on the tentative agreement that was approved by 80% of the teachers who voted last week. This contract made positive strides for our annual contract teachers, increased the board contribution to insurance, and gave all teachers an additional 30 minutes of planning time. We also have 2 subcommittees addressing concerns about secondary scheduling and professional learning communities, which I have the pleasure of co-chairing. The bargaining team spent every penny that was allocated for salaries by increasing the starting amount for new teachers and giving monies to teachers in the middle of the salary schedule who had not received raises during salary freezes. I am one of those teachers. As required by Senate Bill 736, all highly effective teachers on the performance-based salary schedule are receiving a salary increase of $660, and effective teachers on the performance-based salary schedule are receiving an increase of $495. All highly effective and effective teachers on the grandfathered salary schedule are receiving an increase of $495. Teachers in our district are consistently being asked to do more each year as more initiatives make their way through our district. While more initiatives have made their way into the district, our planning time has not increased to allow teachers to effectively master and learn new programs, processes, and instructional strategies expected of us. An important theme discussed during our negotiations was teacher working conditions, mainly planning time. All our high school teachers and some middle school teachers have planning time every other day. In addition, if we're truly to become a world-class school system, we need to invest more money into salaries. Our Human Resources Department is working hard to recruit teachers from around our state and nation, and even traveling into territories of the United States and using the funds that they're provided to get teachers to come to Lee County, which I think we need to increase their funds as well. With a teacher shortage nationwide, we have to have competitive salaries at all levels and more planning time for teachers. Teacher retention is another reason we must address salaries and planning time. Teachers are leaving the profession at staggering rates to seek employment in other fields. As we move into 2016-2017 bargaining, I hope you're willing to increase the bargaining authority of our superintendent, Dr. Adkins, and our district chief negotiator, Dr. Pruitt, to increase salaries and improve working conditions. Thank you.
Charla Fox.
Thank you, board members, Dr. Atkins, Mr. Miller, pardon me. My name is Charla Fox. I am a high school teacher. I teach mathematics at South Fort Myers High. I am a beneficiary of this school system. I was born and raised here. I know how hard everyone works to make things work. I work unimaginable hours in order to do things for my students, and I'm not alone. I ask that you understand that the teachers that are out there saying no to the contract are out there saying no because of all the things that have been asked of us, and not necessarily by you, but by legislative changes, by the freezes that were put on. I cannot speak as eloquently as so many of those before me have. They have touched on so many important points. I just ask that you understand. I had the opportunity, and I took it, to go and sit in at the contract negotiations. It was eye-opening for me. Very few people take that opportunity, even though it's open to all. I was able to see what Dr. Atkins was doing, what the board members, what the district members were doing, what TALC was. And I saw how they were working hard to try and address all the different concerns that were out there. And I'm telling you that they did their best with what they have. That's right. That's what we need to understand at this point. I ask that as we go forward, that you do your best to give Dr. Atkins and Dr. Pruitt the authority to do everything that is in their power to help the teachers, help the students, and help this district become the district that we can be. I ask that you, I ask that you affirm and ratify this contract, not because it's perfect, but because people have stepped forward and saying, okay, we're going to take a step, and we've got to take every step that we can, because if we don't start taking steps, we'll never get to where we need to be. Thank you.
George Fox.
Board, speaking on the half-cent sales tax and massive debt of Lee County School Districts. Dr. Atkins, your presentation on the Bonita School about 2 weeks ago was outstanding. It really was. Mr. Mora and Reggie Snell did a great job putting it together, and I think you won the day there. I really do. A lot of people walked out of there with a different perspective than when they walked in. There were some hardcores that will never change, but I think that you did a fantastic job. It shows the power or the ability of the school district. It really does. What it takes is a board who's going to act. All of this means nothing if we don't act. Because building the school is all on a credit card, and unfortunately, that's only going to add to problems in the future. And Dr. Atkins, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with your actions that you're doing with the half-cent sales tax. But really the reason I'm speaking tonight, because I'm very pleased with the board saying that they're going to do something, but there is not a sense of urgency.
Yes, there is.
You need to vote this thing in, because hiring a consulting firm to put together a sales, marketing campaign is nice, but it's not going to work. What's going to work is a school board that gets out there and works. It goes and says, we got to have this, because you do have to have it. You don't need somebody to tell you what you need. You already know. It's make up your mind, guys. Get in your districts and work it. If the 5 of you work, it will pass. Because the public, they're not you know, they're not unreasonable. If you tell them why you need the money, they'll give it to you. I mean, somehow, for some reason, all these years, it's never been thought, you know, let's just ask. Somehow we believe when somebody says, well, I'll never get a tax thing. No, you'll get it because you can prove that you need it. It's there. So, board, that's what I'm saying. There is no sense of urgency, and it's great that you're talking about it, but it's been talked about for years. It's time for action. If you don't do it in 2016, the legislature will tear the school district apart. They will. They will privatize it, and this building will turn into a flea market, and you guys will be working out of some office building somewhere. Because you won't be, all you'll be doing is administrating. You won't be managing, you won't be educating. That'll be done in Tallahassee, and you'll be expected to do everything they tell you. And that only happens if you sit here and let them do it. You got to fight for public education. The Constitution's on your side. With Matt Caldwell trying to pull his shenanigans up there, pretty soon it won't. So you have to decide whether you're for public education or charter schools. And you got to make a commitment to work. That's your job. Thank you.
Bonnie Kennard and Margolin.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Atkins. My name is Bonnie Kennard Margolin. I'm a teacher and a parent in the district. It's been a while. My daughter started competitive gymnastics very deep in the Cape, so I will be rushing out of here to go pick her up. And I haven't been here often, but I'm here tonight, and so it's pretty important. I think most of you know I'm here to speak on the contract, and you probably think I'm going to speak on the arrears, but I'm not. I understand bargaining. I know the arrears was something the district wanted, and I understand that. I know that getting some due process clause in there for our new teachers was something that our union wanted, and I'm glad that that's in there. But here's what I don't want. I don't want our district or my union bargaining for a contract that I believe is in violation of the law. Let me repeat that. I believe it is in violation of the law. Whether that was the intent, I do not believe, but whether that will be the impact, I do believe. At 49.5, there were no increases. If you made $49,500, you did not get an increase. The only way you can make $49,500 in this county is if you've been teaching an average of 20 years. The only way you can teach 20 years is if you're 40 or over, and we are a protected class. I'd like to read a little bit to you about the protected class that we are in, and it concerns me that we don't have equitable increases across the board, meaning if you're 23, or perhaps the age of our vice president, and you get a highly effective, you're getting a huge increase this year. If you're 48 and highly effective, I think I'm 49 now.
It catches up.
0. Thank you very much. To me, that is age discrimination. So I went looking, and I learned something. ADEA, Age Discrimination and Employment Act. What is it? It protects employees against discrimination, ages group of 40 or over in hiring, firing, compensation, benefits, terms, conditions, and any other aspect of employee. And it protects against retaliation. Retaliation that might come in the form of nasty comments on social media for speaking up about this. Nasty emails that might be sent about this. I do have the right to say I believe that this is age discrimination, and I don't feel that I should be bullied for saying so, not by any member of the public nor my union. I do believe that this is important. In fact, I went so deep looking, I wanted to make sure that it applies during collective bargaining, and it says labor organizations such as unions with 25 or more members may also not discriminate against individuals nor cause or attempt any employer, such as yourself, to discriminate against employees 40 years or older. I'm a protected employee now, go figure. I never thought that being this old would mean something, but it does, and I hope you will consider it. Thank you very much.
Lori Fahey.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Atkins. I am so impressed with our teachers who come up and speak. It's been a long time since we've heard teachers come up. This contract is very important, and I know a lot of work was done on it, and I know that some agreements were well done. but I do believe that we're all on the same page here. We all keep talking that we want to retain and hire quality teachers, and I do believe it's in your hands that you could add more to this contract. Maybe I'm wrong, you can tell me if I am, but I think there's a way that we all want our teachers to stay, and we all want good teachers. So I'm hoping you can consider that rather than just approving it tonight. On the testing issue, I know Mrs. Dozier mentioned Pam Stewart's remarks today, and that was very nice to hear. The remarks from the commissioner were unfortunate because we all know that parents do have a right and that the schools are here to serve the students, not the other way around. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you much.
Those are all the cards, Mr. Torber.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Nicole?
Evening, Dr. Adkins and board members. My name is Nicole Dupuy, and I am a speech-language pathologist at Fort Myers High School and with the pre-K assessment team here in this building. I am a second-generation educator with this district, and I am also a parent of a Lee County High School student. I am here tonight to express my concern regarding the proposed teacher contract. First, many people did not know what they were voting for, and in the ESE department here at this building, no one even knew where to vote. Our TALC representative had actually retired over a year ago. At one point, we were even told only TALC members could vote. The voting process was archaic. I was wondering where the ink pad was to make my thumbprint stamp. Recruiting new hires and paying them more than seasoned veteran teachers is not cost-effective. Actually, it is the exact opposite. It is far more costly to hire a new teacher than to financially and fairly support the teachers who have committed themselves to make the Lee County School District a world-class school system for our students. I understand this is a start, but I know it could be better. My first job was in this building when it was the Metro Mall, and I hope my last job is still in this building. Thank you for your time.
Tamara Leak.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Adkins. Thank you for allowing me some time to speak. I have been quite moved, actually, by several of the speakers before me. I'm a third-generation Fort Myers native. My grandfather graduated from Fort Myers High School in 1941. My parents K through 12, myself and my siblings K through 12, and I returned to this community in 1995 to become an educator. I've been teaching for 20 years, a loyal member of my union for the same. And I come to you tonight not necessarily to speak about the contract, but to perhaps shed some enlightenment on our daily lives in a high school. I spent 15 years as a middle school teacher. I'm now 5 years as a high school teacher. And to be quite honest, the needs of each of our different levels in our huge, diverse district have become so profound that sometimes voting on a contract doesn't necessarily represent the real needs of the teachers in the classroom. When I started teaching in 1995, we had protected team planning at middle school level and curricular planning, common curricular planning at high schools, where you would be able to confer and work with someone in your discipline. As time's gone on, like I've said, I now, rather than teaching 6 out of 7 classes, I now teach 7 out of 8. I have over 193 students that I'm responsible for. They're all high level. They don't take multiple choice Scantron tests. I have to give them feedback on their essays and their writing to prepare them for their next level of higher education. So I'm encouraged by the fact that a secondary scheduling committee has been placed into the new contract. It is my hope, as of many of my colleagues, that really make a difference. I implore of you, the board, to please recommend to that committee that they work towards returning daily planning time. Several of my colleagues have mentioned that it results in mediocre teaching and quick feedback, and that's not what is best for our students. I will not leave this district. I am here to do my best each and every day for you, but the time that we have allotted is not even enough to fulfill the basic requirements that you need of us in terms of technology and grades and emails, et cetera, et cetera. So I bring to you that, simply some enlightenment. Please encourage that committee to do their best to return high school planning time. Thank you.
Virginia Sisk.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Atkins. I am an 11th year social studies teacher and third generation educator in this district, and I am proud to be such. Ms. LaRiviere, this evening, you prayed to give our educators the resources to do our jobs. The problem with this is that it's an empty sentiment if you choose to approve this contract with our lack of planning for high schoolers, as Mrs. Leake just pointed out. By continuing the practice of expecting secondary teachers to teach all day, every other day, without planning, you are effectively handcuffing us. How does the district expect us to meet the needs of all of our students with no time to plan? When exactly are we supposed to meet with our students that need additional instruction, plan dynamic and engaging lesson plans, reach out to parents, answer emails, use the restroom, organize clubs, coach academic teams, etc., etc.? Whereas I know that this was voted on by the teachers, I believe that we all know that there are far more teachers represented in the district by elementary than secondary. And I know that a vast number of the people who voted against this contract were secondary teachers who are desperate for our daily planning so we can be the best educators that you want us to be and to provide such a high level of product for our students. And so I ask you, just like Mrs. Lake before me, please, look at our planning, especially on the secondary level. We are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam? Burnett? And Bennett? Yes.
And Burnett.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Atkins. This is a lot easier in front of my beloved students, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm a 17-year teacher. I've been in 2 different districts. I've been here in Florida for 9 years now. I come from Denver Public Schools. We had planning every day, and we were on block schedule. It was fantastic, and I worked wonders in that district. After moving here, it was quite a shock to my system, and then we went through the recession, and I bit the bullet, and continued on and forward because I love what I do, as do all teachers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this. But I am mostly here tonight standing up for so many teachers that cannot be here tonight because they are parenting, working a second job, donating blood plasma, that's a true fact, grading papers, or are afraid to speak up. And that, to me, is terrible, that so many teachers are in fear of having a voice, in fear of having a voice against this contract, in fear of speaking up at all about any issues going on. So I'm standing up against the 2015-16 contract, but I know it will probably pass tonight, even though it's a slap in the face to so many dedicated, veteran, highly effective teachers. We are currently in a crisis here in Lee County, and the crisis is a teacher shortage. Just today in a parent-student meeting, or a parent-teacher meeting, the parent was upset that their child has had a sub in the classroom all year. And we can't do anything about that as teachers and administrators. So why do we have this teacher shortage? I really think it's for many reasons, including teacher salary, the treatment of veteran teachers, and lack of teacher planning. I propose that we begin immediate and expedient work on the 2016-17 contract with an increased budget to allow for 80 minutes of block planning, uninterrupted daily planning for secondary teachers during the day, not after school when we're working at various capacities with our own students, to give yearly 3% salary increases to proven effective and highly effective teachers, to offer separate contracts to primary and secondary teachers. We have completely different needs and requirements, and with the unbalance of number of teachers at each level, we really don't have an equal voice or a vote. To switch to electronic voting to allow more teachers the ability to vote and have their voice count in a secure manner, and to allow teachers the time, compensation, and ability to be a part of making change, which means I am full on willing to be on any committee that you want to put me on, especially the teacher planning committee. But I would expect that we would be given compensation for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kim Baker?
Board, Dr. Adkins and Mr. Martin. My name is Pam Baker. I'm a parent and teacher here in Lee County. And a couple weeks ago, I was coming back from a field trip with my AVID class at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My contract time at that point ended at 2:20. And I got an email saying that we were going to get some money, and it said cha-ching. I was excited. Yay, we have a raise coming. When I got home, I looked at the email, I looked at the PowerPoint, and I was ashamed at that point of what we are doing with our teachers. I have been a teacher for 15 years, 13 years in the public school system. I make $43,217 as my base pay. A brand new teacher coming in is going to make $40,000. Brand new, straight off the street, out of college. No experience, no professional development to back them up. I also have my national board certification. I do have my master's too, so I get a $2,500 bonus for that, but my base pay is still $3,217 more. Yes, I'm going to get $500 with this contract, but a brand new teacher right now makes $39,000. We have teachers in this district, teachers who made the high impact list who are making $38,500. That's not fair. It really isn't. They are making $500 less than our brand new teachers that we have this year. And yes, this contract is a step in a direction. I don't know if it's really the right direction. I know they worked hard on it, and I wasn't there to work hard on it. So I can't put my hat in that ring that I fought hard because I do work a second job. Today's my son's 19th birthday. I'm missing it. I have been at Estero High School, 6:20 this morning. I left there, came here to Chromebook training. I've not been home. I've not even seen my son yet today. I'm here because our students need veteran and experienced teachers, and that's who we need to target. I know of teachers right now who are planning on leaving next year because this contract does not treat them fairly. And if we are giving experienced teachers a small amount as opposed to veteran teachers, what are we telling our students? That they're not worth it? That it's okay for us to bring in a career changer who does not have a background in child development, who does not have a background in classroom management, who does not have a background in teaching philosophies? They have a completely different background. And our students are the ones paying that price. I have one child in my AVID class that 3 of her teachers so far have left this year to be replaced either by a substitute or by somebody who is a career changer. Please.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Your time's up, ma'am.
Ms. Ramey Hall?
Amy Hall, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I didn't come here tonight to comment on the teacher negotiations or what's going on, but just sitting back as a bystander, I gotta say, I really hope you guys listen to the teachers and wait on approving this contract. There seem to be a lot of sidebar conversations going on among our talc reps over here and the people supporting that. Hopefully they were writing down names of the people speaking so they could meet up with them. I had numerous teachers in the district tell me that they felt like the email was bullying them basically to approving this contract. I heard that word from numerous teachers. I read the email and I thought it was very, very sad. I negotiate a lot of deals for a living and that's not how I would go about it. But anyway, I come here to talk about testing, so let's get to that. The education commissioner of the state of Florida made the comment that if kids do not want to take the test, they should go to private school. I emailed all of you about that, and I find that absolutely despicable as a parent. I think the FSA is a joke. What is a bigger joke is the fact that the essays, our children, 3rd grade and up, have spent way too many hours learning how to write this essay. We've pulled teachers out of classrooms, we've put subs in, we've taught teachers how to teach to write this essay, and then we find out there's going to be a group of people grading this essay, these essays for our whole state in Tampa, like in a warehouse, and all you need is a bachelor's degree. I find that that's not even valid. I have a bachelor's degree. Y'all have seen my emails. I don't need to grade any essays. Trust me. I don't know the grammar. I don't have the skills. And I don't think a lot of these people that are being hired probably have the skills either, because they don't have writing degrees. They don't have background to be grading. And these scores, we say, oh, these scores don't affect students' grades, but they do. It's high-stakes testing. They follow the kids. Once that number is assigned to our kids, you can't get it off their record. My kids will be opting out this year, and I hope as Lee County we support that decision. I would love to see this board stand up and take a stand for opt-outing. I would love this board to ask for Pam Stewart's resignation. I did. I've emailed everybody I can think of to ask for that. I think y'all have more weight than I do, though.
Well, I might have more weight than you, but not with Pam
Well,
Stewart.
I would also like this board to stop the EOCs. I believe that you guys have the power to act on that. I think the EOCs are equally as, they're just a disgrace to our students. 30% of a grade on a test that teachers cannot see. If my child takes a test that's 30% of her grade, I sure hope she's going to learn something from it. I hope that she would see that test, be able to see what she missed, and know what she needs to improve. Having a test that's 30% that a student can't see or learn from, that is not education.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Ms. Jenner?
I'm No C. My daughter has evening classes at FSW, but since it's spring break, I'm here. As many of you know, I am a staunch constitutionalist, and I support the premise that education is not a power or authority that has been granted to the federal government. And while I believe that state and local control over education is paramount, our local school district should reflect a similar limited government approach. And when we have a top-heavy administration in our school district, which is growing incrementally, we have a similar problem within our district that we have in the country. The focus needs to remain with the students and with their teachers, and in light of this collective bargaining, a reduction in administrative staff will definitely have the added benefit of freeing up funds to supplement teachers' salaries. Secondly, it's been brought to my attention that recently there have been some contracts that are awarded on the basis of cronyism. I'm hearing that warranties are historically not being required. I will say that I don't find anyone guilty of wrongdoing until proven such. However, as elected officials with a fiduciary duty to the students and the taxpayers of this community, you need to be held to a higher standard, and it's incumbent upon you all to avoid any appearances of impropriety, however small they may be. On a side note, unless you're using Common Core, there's no such thing as a half penny, so there's no valid reason for having a half-cent sales tax. And I look at the fact that I have kids that are very young, and I'm not talking adults that are out there making tons of money, but I'm talking kids that are babysitting, kids that are mowing lawns, things of that nature. They're going to be hit the hardest. Kids that are getting their little allowances or whatever you want to call it, they're going to be paying this half-cent sales tax for our schools. And I think there's a real problem with it when financially it's not going to benefit in the long run. Thank you.
Ms. Orthodox.
Mary Orthodox. Good evening, Board, Dr. Atkins, Mr. Martin. Kudos to the teachers that came out to speak tonight. I stand with you. You should not be afraid to speak up. This has been a major problem in our district where teachers feel bullied intimidated, and they don't want to come forward. Now, I did a little research, and our administration staff is number 3 in the state. You're top heavy. And we're losing teachers. And to the teacher that spoke up about more teachers leaving, I'm going to tell you I know 15 that are leaving this year across our district. They feel they don't have a voice, nobody cares, and they're constantly getting clobbered by you people up here. Now, let's talk about Gulf Point construction. I would like to know why we keep hiring the same construction outfit that doesn't warranty their work. I went through court records and found where there is instances of this company, roof leaks, no fire, sprinklers, windows put in backwards, door jambs put in backwards, and you people keep giving them contracts. You are misappropriating our funds. You're not standing up to the state, so we're spending millions of dollars on computers and tech people and for a system that's not working for our children or for our teachers. You opted out once before, you opted back in. You promised us you were going to do something. We're a year later and we're still playing the same game. New superintendent promised he was going to stop district tests. That still goes on. Well, my granddaughter opted out. And for Pam Stewart, somebody better read her the Constitution, because she does not override the Constitution. You guys have the power to take charge and do something, and you refuse because it comes to this. You're putting money over the well-being of the children and teachers in this district, and it must stop.
Mr. Eagle.
Hello, everybody. Well, I learned something today. I learned we're the 9th largest district in the state. We're 36th in mean salaries, but apparently we're number 3 in the state for admin pay. By the way, I'd like to congratulate Linda Jo Sanders on her 40 to 50% increase from the superintendent's office, and William Rothenberg on his 50% increase. Congratulations. That maybe could have been put in the teacher's contract, so they could have got some of the money. All right. Now, for Gulf Point construction, specifically Cape Coral High School, Mariner High School, North Fort Myers High School, we know that the Huther family owns Gulf Point. The brother owns the land. I'm not actually going to say anything about them, but I want to point some things out. Have many cases, especially the federal case of Albert Ernest Scott versus Lee County School Board. We've got depositions of school board meetings off the record. Steve Teuber, you're mentioned. Jeannie Dozier, you're mentioned. Just some of the stuff here. From October 2000 to 2002, Jeannie, you were a board member, plaintiff alerted board issues to Construction Services, this is the company, about these high schools where maintenance had to take over. Maintenance budget actually had to take over because, and again, if this is wrong, please tell me, okay? But there's pages upon pages about warranties not being here, things being done wrong, and I wanted to go ahead and read a few things, okay? So the first thing is Huther family donations to Jeannie Dozier. Let's see, $250 on September of 2012. Another $250. Another $500. Oh, here's another $500. Let me see for a minute. Mr. Martin. You're going to talk about statute, how all the board members have to vote, and these Dozier campaign contributions don't mean anything. By the way, wasn't Mr. Tubbs actually Jeannie Dozier's keeper of campaign records before he was in the finance department? Now, more things. Jeannie Dozier, September 13, 2012, 500. More Huther family campaign contributions, 500. Here's another 500. Mr. Teuber, your list is twice as long. Mr. Teuber, don't you sit on the DAC committee that then sends which land you're going to pick? So you actually sit on the DAC committee, make the choices, and then send it to the board, and then you get to vote on it again? $500 to Steve Teuber, $250 to Steve Teuber, $250 to Steve Teuber. I'm at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Please don't go red on me. 500 to Steve Teuber, 500 to Steve Teuber, 300 to Steve Teuber, 300 to Steve Teuber, 200 to Steve Teuber, 200 to Steve Teuber. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems that you're running out of snake oil to sell the public. Thank you very much.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the teachers that came and spoke, our union officials for the talc agreement that's coming before us today. I also want to thank the bargaining committees, teams on both sides. We're in a tough situation. You know, we're facing a teacher crisis. We can't get new teachers in our district. We all know that our teachers are woefully underpaid, and it's from the beginning teacher to our most senior teacher. We understand that. But there's only so much money until we can get the state legislature to actually do what they need to do and what they should do, what they're required to do under the Constitution, and they don't do. Ms. Fisher and Ms. LaRiviere have been working, tirelessly as our legislative liaisons this year. All of us have done it over the last several years, and we continue to keep getting the same message. Governor Scott did put in a much more substantive budget. Ms. Fisher will actually address it in her comments to say where we are. Unfortunately, he's not getting a whole lot of traction, and the state legislature is not giving the support that we need to give our teachers what they need. So we'll discuss our contract a little bit more when it comes forward to our vote, but the people that don't stay when they get down to that particular issue, I just wanted to thank everybody for on both sides to come down and voice their opinions. The idea of electronic voting is something that Dr. Atkins and I will look into to actually facilitate, to allow more of an access to be able to do that. That's something that I think we should explore, because we do want everybody's voice to be heard. Speaking of voices to be heard, we have a new superintendent and a board that does not tolerate bullying, and for someone to be afraid with this administration and this superintendent who is working very, very hard across the district, both at the principal level all the way through the district, I hope people realize that things are changing, and Dr. Atkins takes it very serious. And so the people should not be afraid. We need to hear what people are saying. And I think that if you come forward, you'll find that they're receptive and there is not retaliatory behavior. So, and I know there's a lot of work to do, and we're working very hard to do that, but we're trying to do that. Mr. Getz, always wonderful to have him here. I don't know if he's still here, but his service for our guest speakers, and he stumbles over it. We still do, but that was his request, and we respect that. And we do respect our substitute teachers. They're an integral part of our operation, and we would not function without them. And I think, Dr. Atkins, I would like to get consensus from the board that we do explore something. It's not always about the money, and I know money's important, but it's about feeling that you're important, that you're appreciated, and they are. And the fact that the things we could do to show that appreciation is something that I think this board, if I'm not mistaken by looking at my board, that we should actually explore. So we'll move that forward. Moving on now to our approval for our agenda for consent. I'm going to see if there's any polls. Ms. Fisher, do you have any polls tonight?
No polls this evening.
Ms. Dozier, do you have any?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
Ms. LaRiviere? I have one, which is 4B3. So do I have an approval of the agenda under consent minus 4B3? A motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. LaRiviere. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Atkins, would you please read the action item of 4B3?
Recommend board approval of the general personnel recommendations, including administrative, certificated, support, substitute staff, and out-of-field appointments.
Board members, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, second by Ms. LaRiviere, second by Ms. Fisher. Discussion. I made the Ms. Fisher. You made the motion. Would you like to have any discussion, or you just defer to me?
I'll wait for your discussion.
Okay. The reason why I pulled this is we have on the recommendation our Director of Operations position open, and I wanted to make that publicly announced. I want to congratulate Dr. Atkins and commend him. I take this job very, very, very serious. The school district is really two operations under one roof. We have our education and we have our operations, and they're completely, uniquely different. And you can have somebody that has skill sets in education, but you're still running plants and facilities and transportation, and it takes a lot of things, and to have that running as good as our education side is just as important, because if we don't have the facilities and the transportation to get the children there, no matter how good our teaching side is, we can't, it doesn't work. So that position has to be something that is key and pivotal to our district. Dr. Atkins went out and did a nationwide search, and they worked very hard and brought in 12 candidates, and all the ones that they interviewed, nobody raised to the level that the standard that Dr. Atkins set. So rather than just fill it, he said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to continue to look. So he continued to persevere and search. Dr. Pruitt and her team continued to search, and they found somebody that I will fully recommend. His background is phenomenal. His work record is impeccable, and I think he's going to make a great addition to our team. And so I just want to thank you, Dr. Atkins, and I'll be supporting this motion. Board members, any further comments? Go ahead.
Just to note that if people aren't aware, it's nice that we really did a good search and we didn't just pull somebody from the district just to have someone in the district. And it's nice to know that Mr. Law will be coming to us from Atlanta.
Right, he's currently working in Atlanta.
Yes. And so he brings a wealth of background, and his military career will help him keep that concrete sequential part that we need in operations. So I too am supporting him as well. So.
Board members, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. At this time, Dr. Atkins, would you please acknowledge any administrators that are in attendance today?
No, the only one that I have is actually Mr. Law, and he's I believe working up in Atlanta today. So.
All right.
Not here.
Good. At this point, we'll move to superintendent's recommendations. We'll move to our good cause item. Dr. Atkins.
The first item is the tentative agreement, the approval of the 2015-2016 collective bargaining agreement with the Teachers Association of Lee County. And as I said before, I recommend board approval of the 2015-2016 collective bargaining agreement with the Teachers Association of Lee County at an approximate expenditure of for FY16 of $11.8 million. And just to clarify in terms of the actual amount of the increase, part of that has to do with an additional 30 minutes. That would be 30 minutes to every teacher's hourly rate. The second piece is an increase that is required under SB 736, which is the performance pay component, which is for highly effective and effective, so there's an increase there. And then we did add an additional $500 to the mid-range of the salary. And again, that honestly is just really a first step, and I think what will be a long process to adjust some of the inequities in the salary schedule that have occurred over great periods of time. Just a short history lesson, changes in legislation required us to change the amount of experience credit that we could recognize. At one point, the state of Florida required all outside public teaching experience recognized. We had at the time recognized 10 years out of state and 16 years in state. So that went from that requirement to a broader requirement. Then we had, of course, that requirement going away, and so we negotiated back some of those provisions, and then, of course, 736 and the requirements of which I've explained that formula probably ad nauseum. I won't do it here today. So I do recommend, this contract. I think that the folks did work very hard on it. I appreciate, what our bargaining team put into it. But also, I do want to mention that these...
Well, you've heard the Dr. Atkins' very lengthy recommendation. Do I have a motion to approve, and we can defer to his discussion upon a motion when it's on the table? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this lengthy recommendation? Moved by Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Dozier. All those in favor signify by... now open for discussion. Dr. Atkins, you were...
my apologies.
That's fine.
So the scheduling committee I've received some emails on that as well, and, I think, working conditions came up again and again and again by the TALC bargaining team, and I want to acknowledge that. That is something that we really would like to, the request for daily planning is something that we would like to support. Our scheduling committee is going to look at that. If you look at districts across the globe, there's more planning that teachers in some of those higher performing countries have for their teachers. We'd like to be able to provide that here. It does come down to money, so we have some difficult decisions, but I think it's a good first step.
Ms. Dozier.
I find this a real struggle this evening. We continue to ask our teachers to do more with less. And over the course of probably the last couple of months, I've heard from a lot of teachers that have talked about several issues that were raised this evening. Some of those are the planning period. That is a major issue. In fact, it's almost a major issue to say that it is almost borderline inhumane, because in the regular workplace, that would not be acceptable to have a person work all day with only a 25-minute lunch break. I mean, that's just unheard of. You just don't do that. And Dr. Atkins and I have had conversations. He knows how I feel about this. And I know that when we went to a 8-period day, it was kind of like a bargaining chip. Okay, we don't really have a lot of money, but we're going to do this, and we're going to find a way to bring the planning periods back. And I'm really struggling this evening with whether or not to support this contract or not. While I appreciate the work of a committee, and I appreciate the fact that a committee works very hard with the interest-based process, I also know that there are a lot of people out there that are very unhappy. And I heard someone say, Mr. Castellano, I believe, said, we can't ignore those 800 and something that voted against the contract. And I have heard that in some buildings, teachers were told that the only ones that could vote were the teachers that were part of the union. I'm just telling you what I've heard. So, and I know that should not be the case. But, and people have talked about the way the voting took place. I've also heard over the course of the last few months a lot of talk about PLCs. And I will tell you right now, I voted against the last 2 big contracts that we gave to those companies to bring all of those resources in. And all I hear from teachers, I don't think I have heard one teacher that has paid me or has talked to me and paid a compliment to PLCs. They all talk about it being busy work. They don't see that it's doing anything to substantiate or increase student achievement. They think that it is taking up their time when they could actually be planning for their students. And, I appreciate everybody that came here, and a lot of them have gone home because they're probably at home planning tonight, for tomorrow. I appreciate the fact that the teachers came, and in fact, I had a 3-page letter today from somebody talking about the fear. And I will tell you part of what has done that, and that is the fact that we no longer have continuing contract. Teachers are on you've got a 1-year contract, and if you step out of line, you're subject to the wrath of a principal. I'm not saying that could happen, but with personalities, we know that that's reality. I'm really struggling with this contract, and I just don't know. I just don't know. I'd like to hear from my fellow board members how they feel about this contract.
Ms. Fisher.
Okay, I'll just share, I got a number of letters and a number of phone calls, and I had several comments regarding the adopted pay distribution schedule. There's some talk that money will be held back from employees and some concern for a period of time, and that some concern was voiced that this would create a hardship for those depending on timely distribution to ensure payment of their auto-deducted bills. So, I mean, you know, like when you have something auto pay out of your checking account or your credit card, and if your paycheck is not coming for 20 days rather than 15, you know, you could not have your money in the checking account when the bill is done, so they're going to have to change all that, and I guess there's time to do that. I'm aware that 80% voted in favor of it, and I did get a message that over 800 teachers voted against it. If there had been more time to inform people, I'm sure more would have voted no. Since the district has had difficulty filling positions this year, I am shocked that such a poor deal was negotiated, and I'm just delivering the message here, and accepted by the union. And I know how hard everyone works on the negotiations and the amount of time it takes. Do you know that the city of Cape Coral pays their equipment operators more than what the district pays teachers with similar number of years, but much more education? The focus seems to be on new, inexperienced staff rather than tenured, than experienced veteran staff. That is a shame. That they are not considered valuable. And that's the feeling, and it's probably less about the money than it is about the feeling of appreciation. There have been comments also that I have heard regarding PLCs. I don't know if we have an idea what the return on the investment of time and money in the PLCs has rendered as far as our student achievement. And you know, we have to recognize that we have a huge impact because of state mandates on what we can do. And later on in this meeting, I will reiterate some of the budget issues from our legislative update. But if 80% of the people voted in favor of it, and we are ready to negotiate the next year. And I heard many teachers tonight say it's a start. It's a start, so if we go with this contract, then let's look at what we're going to do next in terms of being able to reward veteran teachers and experienced teachers. I think it's a travesty that someone can start in this district at 40 when someone who's been a loyal employee for 15 years is making 43 something. I mean, that's crazy. And I lived it and I know it, you know. But I think that we have to continue to move forward. So well, that's what I'll say for now.
Thank you. Ms. LaRiviere?
For years, I heard complaints about planning time not being right. And it actually happened before the decision was made with regard to secondary and block scheduling and every other day planning, and it mostly had to do with elementary teachers. Because for elementary teachers, the amount of time that they have received for their planning time has always been far less, because 30 minutes of their planning time, that's their quote-unquote planning time, has been watching and managing students as they're because of breakfast and working out that breakfast schedule. And our elementary teachers are also bombarded with their planning times being taken because they're having to do the multi-tiered strategy meetings, and much of that is taken away. I would venture to say, and I would highly encourage, that if we're going to have a secondary committee look at things, it would behoove us to be sure that there is an elementary that's looking at it. And that's just a suggestion. So I'm putting that out there because invariably elementary for years has always, their planning time has been taken away far more than others. And part of our whole problem with funding our teachers properly has been damaged because of Senate Bill 736. It has totally ruined things for our teachers. It's taken away the opportunity for them to have a professional services contract so they can know that they are able to have due diligence. Is that the word? If a principal has something, if a principal is due process. That's the word. Thank you. I knew it was a due process. That's taken away from them, and so now all of our teachers that are coming in are on an annual contract, and therefore, a principal can decide, I'm sorry, you're not coming back next year. So that does create a lot of fear amongst our teachers. I do understand that it's a start. It's not perfect. We have a real problem, and we have a problem with our state legislature and them appropriating money for something that's their pet project in education that will not benefit all of our teachers and staff. And I know that Ms. Fisher will be addressing that. At this point, I have to say that I probably most likely will be approving the contract, but understand, I know it's not perfect. And I hope all of our teachers realize that we do get it, that it's not perfect. And we do want our teachers to feel very free, all of our staff members, to be very free to speak out and have their voice. And I thank those of you who came tonight.
Well, I remember when we first started meeting with Dr. Atkins when he was chief negotiator, and he was very honest with us about the fact that we were transitioning to a new reality as a result of decisions that the legislature has made, and the political environment has changed. We're still trying to recover from the financial debacle. So he made it very clear that money was going to be an issue in this contract, and so were working conditions. And this board looked at Dr. Atkins and said, you know, whatever you can do for teachers within the parameters that we have, within the financial parameters that we have, do it. We know he has made very clear to us, as have teachers, that this is a very difficult reality for all of us. And, you know, all I can say is I believe that the group, the team that negotiated this contract really tried to respect the interests of our employees within the realities that we must live with. And I look at this as a first step towards addressing the two most pressing problems that we understand you have, money and working conditions. And this is not an end, it is a start, and I will support the work of everybody who was involved in this negotiation. Initially, Dr. Atkins, Dr. Pruitt, members of the union, and all of the district personnel who were involved. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan, and I'll be very brief as well. I echo what Ms. Morgan has said. It's not ideal. They put the best resources they could to where they thought they could to get us the farthest we could with what we had, knowing that there's a whole lot of more parts of the bridge that we desperately and woefully need, and we won't stop. And so, for the people that feel slighted, please don't. You know, that was not the intent at all. We respect the teachers that have been here a long time, and we understand the compression, the difference when they expanded the steps and condensed the steps, and we know there's a lot of inequities throughout our system, and we need to address it. But we can only do so much every iteration. So I will be supporting this, and I hope that you continue to do what you do in our classrooms for our children, for our students, for our community, and we will continue to advocate to fix all those issues. Ms. Dozier was right, or Ms. Fisher, I can't remember which one has said, you know, we went to the block schedule, and truth be told, it was a temporary thing, and it was, you know, I was actually the chairman, and Dr. Browder was there, and we had no money. We had no money, so we did it because we couldn't make the two ends meet. And it was supposed to be temporary. Well, things went from bad to worse, and it never got better to be able to switch. the block schedule has proved some advantages for academically for our students. So I think Dr. Adkins wants to take whatever the best we can do academically, but still address the issue that is our teachers need help, and we get that. So I feel we're in good hands with Dr. Adkins and the team he's got forward. This board will continue to support his actions as he's doing it going forward. And that's all we can do is continue to support his actions because we know he's doing it the best he can and he's in the right direction. So I'll be supporting this today as well. Any further comments? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Atkins, would you please read your next recommendation?
All right, just give me 1 second and get back to the agenda. Okay, next item, I recommend board approval, the audited comprehensive annual financial report for the school district of Lee County for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2015.
Board members, you heard the motion. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, second by Ms. Morgan. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by Ms. Morgan. I'm sorry, Ms. Fisher? Oh, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Your next recommendation.
Okay, next recommendation, I recommend board approval to piggyback Hillsborough County Public School ITB number 12003-MST for epoxy plumbing awarded to Florida Pipelining Solutions LLC for the period of March 28, 2016 through March 27, 2017 at an estimated annual expenditure of $700,000 with the option to cancel if deemed in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you heard. Is there a motion to approve?
So, second.
Moved by Ms. Morgan, seconded by Ms. Dozier. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Your last recommendation.
I recommend board approval to renew bid number B147201GN for the purchase of paints and paint supplies purchased for the Maintenance Services Department to Scott Paint Company, Inc. and the Sherwin-Williams Company for the first renewal period of March 17, 2016 through March 16, 2017 at an estimated expenditure of $750,000 pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
By Ms. Dozier, seconded by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? A unison second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. The attorney has no recommendations this evening. There is no public hearings. We'll now move to board member comments. I'll start with you, Ms. LaRiviere.
Most of my comments I addressed when I was discussing the contract. My one question is, have we scheduled the workshop for the discussion of the half-cent sales tax? Has that been scheduled?
We have not. There has not been discussion yet to bring that forward on a consensus.
All right. Okay. So that was my part, that we had talked about bringing that forward for staff to discuss so that we could, as a team, decide whether or not we
And I think we held, the reason we did it last meeting, I believe, because Ms. Dozier was not here. So at this point, do we have consensus for the five of us to put it on the agenda for, on a workshop or a board briefing for I know Dr. Atkins has a presentation just about ready to go. Is that correct, Dr. Atkins?
Close, yeah.
Okay, so I will coordinate with Dr. Atkins. We'll put it sooner rather than later. I'll find a spot and we'll get it in. We have consensus from everybody, Ms. Dozier?
Absolutely.
Okay, we just didn't want to do it without you being here, Ms. Dozier. Okay.
Okay, and that's good, because that's one of the reasons why I looked at Orange County and just from a past workshop with some people from there, and seeing what they were able to do for increase in salary for their teachers, but they don't have the debt that they have to pay off, and they also have half-cent sales tax that was voted on and approved. They have extra money to work with, so they can help out their staff. So it's not where we would want to go, but it seems like every bit that we normally would have gotten from the state, they're now taking away anything from the state, and we're more locally responsible. And we need to consider what we can do, and we need to put it out there for people to decide. And I apologize, Ramey. I just couldn't help it when you talked about that. I had to respond. Sometimes when life gives you stress, you've got to find something to laugh about, and I did. So I've obviously people thought I've gotten some comments from people saying that I had told people that if they weren't happy with the testing to go to a private school. And I think they were mixing this Pam with the other Pam, and that was nothing that I would have ever said at all. So if just want to clarify that, because as far as I'm concerned, I want all the babies here.
Thank you. Ms. Morgan.
Yeah, I just, I will piggyback on what you said. I think it would be nice if we figured out some way to commend substitutes and recognize their contributions. So I'll just jump in on that. The only other comment I have, I believe that Mrs. LaRiviere, Mrs. Dozier, Mrs. Fisher have all visited the Bonita sites with our staff. Have you visited yet, Mr. Toiber?
I was part of the project from 6 months ago.
Okay, so I just want to thank my colleagues for all taking the time, and staff who had to take a lot of time to take them down there and do the touring. I think that we are getting information every day that is taking us where we need to go with respect to making a decision, but I just wanted to say thanks to all who went down to visit or who provided the transportation and the site visit and the whole bit. Thank you. That's it for me.
Ms. Dozier.
I don't know what the answer is, but I've heard some comments about the guest teachers that we need to find a way to recognize them. And I've sat here at this table and I have talked about, out of 100% of your time, what you're supposed to do with that time and how you break it up. And a large chunk of your time is supposed to be, I believe it's 30%, is supposed to be celebrating, recognizing. And I know that we don't always have the opportunity. And when I say opportunity, I use that word, I use that kind of loosely, because a lot of times it comes down to funding. But I would like to see us do something to look for ways to demonstrate and to show appreciation for our teachers. One of the themes that I seem to hear is a lot of people are feeling unappreciated. I also, again, read a letter, several pages from a teacher today that talked about the fact that, they feel so demoralized. And I would like to see us put our heads together and look for a way to recognize and applaud and appreciate and honor our teachers, our staff members for everything that they do. I've said it before, our employees, I would stack up against anyone, anywhere. We have some of the best teachers, we have some of the best employees, and we don't have the opportunity to recognize them. And because of budget cuts, I think of things, for instance, teachers that have worked in this district for 40 years, 45 years, we used to do a dinner and honor them. They didn't pay to come to the dinner. Right. That's something we've done away with. There are so many things that we have done away with, and I know that we need to look for, I don't know whether it's creative, there's been a talk about a foundation. I don't know whether there's talking about, doing something to get community input, but we've got to do something because, we don't just think that teachers are demoralized. They are talking about being demoralized. And so we need to look for ways to do something to help morale. And if it's trying to, get additional funding so that we can give teachers additional pay to show that they are professionals, we need to do that. So I look forward to us having some strong conversations around what we can do to raise the level of morale, help teachers to realize that we want to do more for them. And I think that if we put our heads together, we ought to be able to find a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dozier. Ms. Fisher.
Okay, I'm going to start with honoring the request to read my legislative update. The legislature today provided a 1% average per student increase statewide. We will certainly be below that average because of one distribution decision relating to how digital classroom allocation funds are split between districts, which in essence means we don't always get our fair share. A 1% increase per student does not mean that 1% raises are available. Included in that average increase are the Florida Retirement System rate increases, and we will also have to fund local increases to health and benefit costs for employees before raises can be computed. Growth in students is funded fully by this budget, and this is very important for this county because of our continued growth spurt. We have a huge growth. The impact of the state budget deal on the operating budget for the district will be significantly less than 1% increase per student because of our local startup plan to transfer approximately $10 million in operating budget back to capital expenses. You're going to love this, Mr. Fox, so that we can fund the new high school and restore some of the facility maintenance program that had been previously cut during the Great Recession. Local property taxpayers will see a 0.29 of a mill reduction in the local school property taxes as a result of the budget on the average. So a homeowner of a homesteaded property valued at $150 would pay $29 less per year in taxes thanks to this budget that was passed today. As I'm reading this, I'm looking at Mr. Fox and I'm keeping in mind everything he has said about the sales tax and about debt reduction. Because when we have debt reduction, then we wouldn't have to be taking money out of operating and putting it into capital for maintenance and building. We would be able to give raises to our employees. The Best and Brightest program was funded by the legislature. Some of our high-impact teachers are not happy about this. This is a relatively new program that gave large bonuses to teachers who have previously received very high scores on their SAT and ACT tests back when they were in high school. So, which has nothing to do with the quality of teaching. So there will be very large bonuses for successes that our teachers showed on tests they took years ago. But there will be very little to provide pay increases for those teachers who are helping improve student outcomes right now. So there'll be local challenges and concerns because of this budget, particularly with meeting class size reduction mandates because of our ongoing growth. There will be little or nothing for local performance pay plan increases unless the district makes cuts to the base budget to fund those increases. There isn't any money for local initiatives unless we cut those new services from existing ones. The session is not over till Friday. There's still time for good things to happen for citizens, taxpayers, and supporters of public schools. We continue to count on our delegation to accomplish this. So that's the news today in a nutshell. I think that as we look at appreciating our people, and I thank everyone who came to speak, I thank all of the teachers who came to speak, and I encourage every employee in this district to say what's on your mind, because you have a right to do that. This is the United States of America. I appreciate Mr. Getz because he advocates consistently for our guest teachers. And you know, I worked at a school one time where we got appreciated consistently, and I don't think it cost any money. We'd find a little note in our mailbox or on our desk, "We appreciate you," maybe a piece of bubble gum or a piece of candy, but those messages were transmitted consistently, not every day to every person, but every day to somebody. So everybody felt appreciated and valued, and that went a long way. So I don't think that as we look for ways to pay our staff more, our teaching staff and our support staff, that we can do little things. It's just a matter of the culture that we create. And with all of the demands and all of the requirements, it seems like there's not enough time. But my challenge to everybody would be, try it. You don't really have enough time not to, because the return on that investment is tremendous. And I wanted to thank the Tropic Isles Singing Sea Stars for their entertainment tonight. The songs, under the direction of Susan Hamilton, were appropriate and very uplifting. And so, again, looking at the students and seeing what they can do always makes us understand why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. I pretty much said everything that I needed to say, so I won't belabor it anymore. Our last comments will be from Dr. Mr. Martin. Do you have any comments today?
Yes, just one brief item,
Please.
Mr. Toiber, board members. I did want to address a comment that was raised this evening. There was a suggestion in one of the public comments that the now adopted agreement may violate law in some respect. The Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which is federal law, does prohibit employers from discriminating in benefits, including salary, based upon age, the protected class being those over the age of 40. Of course, the provisions that we were discussing tonight would not be disparate treatment. They didn't. The granting of an increase in compensation isn't directly based upon an individual's and employee's age, so it would not be disparate treatment. There is also a law that would support an assertion that the law is violated by the disparate impact of an employer's action. That is, though the action doesn't directly create a distinction in compensation based upon age, if the impact of that distinction is disparate in terms of age, it may be a violation of the law. An employer who has an allegation of disparate impact in violation of the law with respect to age discrimination, to counter that would have to present a reasonable explanation of factors other than age that are the basis for that distinction. And of course, Dr. Atkins, when he presented his recommendation this evening, presented that type of a reasonable explanation to you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Dr. Atkins.
Just a couple brief things as it relates to the contract. First of all, I appreciate the support. I do know that was difficult, and I do also appreciate you acknowledging the concerns of the many teachers out there. I think that the bargaining team said again and again, working conditions, and that's certainly what we're going to work on with this contract. Something that we challenged them to do was be teacher leaders and actually have a role in the decision-making process. So with the secondary scheduling committee and also the PLC committee, we have asked teachers to take the lead on that, teachers to make the recommendations, since teachers are the ones that know what the working conditions are. They have to do it every single day. And I will tell you that it is very difficult for myself when I go back. I used to teach at FGCU and Nova, and you go back for you teach half a day, and it's hard, and that's hard for me, and they're teaching much more than that. You're looking at a high school or middle school teacher as an example, teaching 4 straight, and that is just very, very difficult. And I remember back in the day, as a middle school science teacher, teaching 6 out of 7 was hard, and I still had planning and lunch. They don't. They often have to only have lunch, and that is just very, very difficult. So I know that the Secondary Scheduling Committee is really committed to trying to find a solution if we can, and it may require pushing the limits, but that's what we'll do in the case, because as I said before, if you look at high-performing school districts, high-performing countries, the amount of teacher planning, bless you,
I'm sorry.
the amount of teacher planning that those teachers have is much more. American teachers as a whole tend to teach more than some of their international colleagues in some of the higher performing districts. So we're committed to working on both of those particular issues. Other than that, I'll reserve the rest of my comments for our individual board meetings or the next time, because I know the hour is late. So that concludes what I have to say this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkins. Our next scheduled meetings of the board will be a full day on March 22nd. We'll start at 9 a.m. over at the Canal Street site for a workshop from 9 to 12. We then have a 2 p.m. school board briefing here, and then we'll have a 6 p.m. board regular action meeting. With nothing further coming for this board, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher.
Second.
Second by
Me.
Ms. Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.